We gon' run it, hit the field, blast off, watch them all fall. This is AFC North Talk. Got me hype, it's about to be a touchdown. Got the Ravens, Steelers, Bengals, and the Browns. Are you listening? It's time to get it hype. Tune in when the season poppin'. Yeah, we going live. Hey, knock 'em out. Ay, first down, going hard. Yes, indeed. AFC North Talk. Let's go. Hey, AFC North Talk.
Welcome to another edition of AFC North Talk. We hear Q's on his way before people start freaking out, losing their minds. He's on his way. Really good matchup this weekend. All over the place. Good matchups all over the place. We're gonna start the polls out there. Browns and Saints. This is an interesting matchup because again, I said last week or yesterday actually, the Saints, the Falcons lost to the Saints, and look at the Saints, LOL, how the Saints beat the Falcons, right? But look, the Saints look like they have fire in them. A guy like Valdez-Scantling, which I just picked on the fantasy, so hopefully he can replicate, although I doubted this week. But can he do something? Like, because they lost a lot, Chris Olave, right? I don't know what to make with the Saints team. But they fired the coach. That could be a good thing because their previous coach, Allen, he was not good. He was very bad. I was surprised that he kept his job over the offseason. And then we have the Browns. They're still starting Jameis this weekend. That's what I read. But Jameis, this is gonna be his third start bye week, right? Nick Chubb, 2 weeks, getting his footing, to get a little bit of rest. How he starts. I don't know. Q, what is your expectations for this Browns team against the Saints? You're muted, Q.
Ruh-roh.
Sorry about that.
There we go.
Yeah, we hearing good now. That's
Yes.
all.
We do.
All right. So I expect the Browns offense to look a lot better this week.
There we go.
What happened?
Good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are we finally good?
Yeah.
Everybody, we all in sync.
Everybody pause
Come on,
and make
at the
sure that
same
we're
time.
fine.
Let's clap at the same. 1, 2. All right, there it is. Okay, we're not gonna get a false start here. I expect the Browns offense to look a lot better this week. I think when your team's 2-7, there is a positivity vortex and there is a negativity vortex, right? I'm pretty sure the Steelers are experiencing this. They're 7-2 right now. You can say anything about anybody on the Steelers in the positive direction, and people be like, "Yeah, that cooks." That cooks. Like, yeah, that shit's hard. Like, anybody. You can say Najee's looking like he about to turn into Adrian Peterson right now. And somebody be like, yeah, fuck yeah, bro. That cooks, bro. Like, that's when you're winning. When you're losing, when you're losing, any negative opinion becomes like true. You could say right now, Myles Garrett's playing like shit. And somebody would be like, well, yeah, it makes sense, right? They're 2-7. Like, you can literally, the positive and negativity vortex when your team is struggling versus succeeding is crazy. And right now, Browns fans are deep into the negativity vortex with this football team. I would like to remind them that you're 1-1 with Jameis Winston and you played the Ravens and the Chargers. It's not exactly like you lost to the fucking Jaguars, right? Like last time you saw the Browns play, they struggled against the Chargers. I think a lot of teams have struggled against the Chargers defense, right? But when you're in that negativity vortex, it's not that the Chargers are good while your offense struggled. It's that everything about you stinks and you let the Chargers look like demons against you, right? And that's where Browns fans are coming into this game. That's not really where reality is. I think the Browns will be able to move the ball similar to how they were able to move the ball against Baltimore. And to an extent, as bad as they were offensively against the Chargers, that was like their third highest game in yards, offensive yards, which doesn't say much about the last dude who was playing quarterback there, but does suggest that there were opportunities to take advantage of, that the Chargers were just better at taking advantage of than you. So the Saints, they're not the Chargers defense. They're not that level of good. They just got rid of their best corner in Marshawn Lattimore. So, and yeah, they have the new coach bump. And that new coach bump, maybe it works for a couple of weeks. Maybe it works for a week. They played their rival in Atlanta like the week after they fired their coach. Yeah, that could happen, especially at home, right?
Especially against the Falcons of all teams, too. Like, I think that there's a lot to take into consideration here.
It is the Falcons, right? Like, it is against the Saints. They do this all the time. Like, I lived out here. I've seen them do this all the time, even when they were much better teams. So I'm not going to get too swung in either direction. I remember when Antonio Pierce got there in Las Vegas and people thought that was going to be like the next great coach because he won like 2 games in a row down there. Now it look like he ain't even going to make it out this season, right? So I'm going to avoid the urge to be super reactionary here and go, oh, well, the Saints are coming off a win. The Browns are coming off a loss here. That should dictate who wins this game. I think the Browns will be able to win this game. I think defensively, they're going to be a lot healthier than they were against the Chargers coming off of a bye week. They're going to get hopefully Jordan Hicks back and some other key pieces of that defense, Denzel Ward to be more healthy. And I think that will make a difference there. Offensively, Jameis Winston's going to be Jameis. And he might throw 3 interceptions. He might throw 3 touchdowns. But you know what? We're going to be in that red zone, baby. Like, and if the Browns have a chance to be in the red zone against the Saints, I think they'll capitalize on enough opportunities to be able to get where they need to get. The question here is like the run blocking for the Cleveland Browns has been the big question for me. Pass blocking wise, they're not as bad as people make it out to be, at least the last 2 weeks, right? With Deshaun Watson out there, they had the 29th ranked pass blocking efficiency in the NFL. Whew, yeah, it stinks. You want to know how I know it's Deshaun Watson's fault? You know what their pass blocking efficiency is the last 2 weeks going against the 2 teams that are top 5 in sacks in the NFL? Yes.
15.
Let's say 6.
Okay, Jared's a little high. Sonny's a little low. Smack dab in the middle, 11. They're 11th in pass blocking efficiency the last 2 weeks, despite going against 2 defenses that are top 5 in the NFL in sacks. So pass blocking, I think they'll be able to hold up fine, right? The run blocking is where I have the concerns because DeJuan Jones in space, he ain't figured that part out of that yet, especially on the left side there. Joe Bitonio, some games he looks like Joe, some games he looks like old Bitonio, right? Ethan Posick, he's looked lost all season in space. And then Wyatt Teller, sometimes he's pancake Wyatt Teller, sometimes he's what was it, the crepes? He's just crepes, right? The little thin, like, sometimes he's French out there, right? Like it doesn't look very powerful from Wyatt Teller. And Jack Conklin's probably your best run blocker. Nick Chubb, like how good does he look after getting a bye week, 3 games in? Like, does he finally start looking like Nick Chubb? That will help your offense, and that will also reduce your reliability on Jameis Winston. And the more you reduce your reliability on Jameis Winston, the less you give opportunity for Jameis to do Jameis things. And I swear to God, if there's a game where you just want to limit the opportunities for Jameis, it's one where he thinks it's a revenge game. Like this is a great day for Jameis to only throw the ball 25 times. Offensively, though, I think they'll be able to move the ball a little bit better. Defensively for the Browns, I think they'll be solid against this team. They're playing Derek Carr still, right?
Yep.
They
We're
are.
gonna be all right, man. We're gonna be there. Myles Garrett gonna get to him. He's been healthier the last few weeks, coming off a 3-sack game. We're gonna get to Derek.
Derek Carr and Marquez Valdez-Scantling and whoever else they have out there, a receiver. It'll be a good time.
Yeah, I'm most worried about like Alvin Kamara, right? Like that's where the game could be broken because the Browns aren't that great of a run defense. I am excited to see Isaiah McGuire out there, who's been the Browns' best run defender, getting full-time snaps to see if that helps with some of the edge setting issues that Zadarius Smith, like he just outright refuses to set an edge at times. So we'll see here. I'm not excited for this game, to be honest. It's 2-7, but I'm intrigued about this game, and I think the Browns have a good chance to win. And if they win this game, they win the game after that. Well, who they play after that? Is it Pittsburgh?
Yeah, might be the first game against the Steelers.
Pittsburgh Thursday night at home. So like Pittsburgh's clearly better
It
than
is
you
a
this
Thursday
year.
night game, man.
But it is a Thursday night at home game, so shenanigans are going to happen. That's going to be a game where shenanigans happen. And the Browns have done a good job winning that game at home against Pittsburgh, despite Pittsburgh having better records most of the year. So I expect the Browns to put up a good fight there. And then you got to play Pittsburgh again, and then you got to play Kansas City. Kansas City, I don't know. I'm just going to go out here, and maybe I just like to be first on Kansas City takes. They remind me of the Eagles from last year. I don't like we're not going to say it because the Eagles are the Eagles and the Chiefs are the Chiefs. I understand that. But don't you be watching their games and think, man, they waiting for, don't they feel like Georgia last year where you're like, they going to lose, right? Like Miami this year, you're like, yeah, they undefeated, but I don't know. I don't even think they're the best team in that division. Like, I think that there's a chance. They feel like Pittsburgh that one year they went 12-0, right? Like, I think there's a chance that this thing comes back on to earth because I had people out here texting me about Bo Nix giving Bo Nix an apology, and that suggests to me a team that is not as good as their record if that is happening against you in a Provident game. But yeah, that's my synopsis on the Browns season. I kind of went longer there than I wanted to. My bad.
Ace.
Yeah, with this one, man, this is one of the ones when I look at my weekly parlays that I'm leaving off of the ticket because I just don't know which way that this could go. And I think Cleveland, to me, is the better team. Like, if you're just talking about talent, especially with them being back healthy, I trust that defense more there. The Saints, they're an explosive offense at times, but they've been up and down. We've seen Spencer Rattler come in at certain times. But I feel like New Orleans and Derek Carr, it's Derek Carr against the Browns defense. And that's where I'm kind of at when it comes to that. Now, when I look at some of the metrics and stuff like that, the turnover differential, New Orleans is winning that one. When it comes to EPA, for some, I don't even know how because this team is bad. They're 13th in the NFL in comparison to Cleveland being 29th. When I
think Ace, if you probably took out those first 2 weeks of the year, they would be much lower. I think the first.
Oh yeah, because
did a lot of heavy lifting.
That was the one where they like didn't punt at all and they scored on every single drive.
You were talking about election year, Derek Carr, all that.
So I mean, to me, I just trust Cleveland more in this situation. Cleveland's actually been, decent somewhat when it comes to playing on the road. I think they at least have played inspired on the road, right? I know at home with the Watson stuff early on, it was a little weird, but I think now with Jameis, they got new energy. They were able to sit out here on this bye week, get some things together. I think they'll make some adjustments. And right now, jobs are on the line, right? Like, obviously, there were jobs on the line with New Orleans. They've already kind of fired their guy, so they have some motivation. But those heads haven't started rolling in Cleveland yet, which means that Stefanski and some of those guys there have to step up and do their thing. And I'm going to bank on that. I do. Jameis does scare me because Jameis can be pretty crazy when it comes to his football decisions. He likes to play a lot of hero ball. But I just can't see Derek Carr doing anything against this Browns defense like that. I trust the Browns defense.
Philosophy.
I just trust the Browns defense in this one. And so I'm going to lean with the Browns here in this one.
Derek Carr has like all this talent. Like, he can run fast. Like, I don't think people know that Derek Carr ran like a 4.7 at the combine or something like that. Refuses to use it. Great arm talent. Refuses to use it. Meanwhile, Jameis Winston will run more and throw the ball downfield more, despite that not being as justified talent-wise.
I feel like before every play, I feel like Jameis Winston just kind of like looks around, whispers to himself, "All right, it's Jameis Winston time," and then
it's time.
we see what happens.
I legitimately think the ideal was like, "Hey, man, let's have Jameis Winston back up Derek Carr so he can give him his confidence, so Derek Carr can finally be who you want him to be." But it's like, nah, man, Derek like doing all that stuff that you hate he does.
I feel like they wanted Jameis Winston to be. You remember those Key and Peele skits with Obama's anger translator?
Yeah,
I think that's who they wanted.
To be the confidence translator.
I think that's what they wanted Jameis Winston to be for Derek Carr. Yeah.
And I think, ironically enough, being around that much confidence actually ruins the confidence of the person who's lacking confidence in front of Jameis Winston. Because, like, let's be honest, let's look at it. Derek Carr got worse, right? Yeah. Behind Jameis. Deshaun Watson didn't look more confident behind Jameis. being around that confidence makes you realize, oh, I'm not really confident at all. Okay, that's what actual confidence is.
Jared, what do you think about this game?
Yeah, I mean it's not exactly one that I'm gonna keep my eye on just because it's two teams that for all intents and purposes aren't really playing for anything for the rest of the season other than draft position. So I think that the Browns are the more talented team. I think that if you limit the opportunities for Jameis to make mistakes and just lean on Nick Chubb with the run game, I think that gives you a better chance to win. The Saints were very much big time sellers at the deadline. They don't have Marshawn Lattimore anymore. They are 3-7 right now after winning a 7-game losing streak. So I think that Cleveland still has the overall more talented team, and it's a team that they should be able to beat, especially the Saints firing Dennis Allen, which they probably should have done coming into this year anyway. But regardless, I think Cleveland wins. They're the better team with, I think, the better overall structure around them, despite the wanky year that they've had. But I do think that they are the better team. They should win.
I have minimal analysis of this game. I don't know who the Saints are. I think they're the Aints. I think the Browns defense is going to still play with pride. That defense is pretty intact, right? Other than Zadarius Smith, but that team had talent to surpass Zadarius Smith. I think that team plays with pride. I think they're going to be hunting Derek Carr. I think Jameis will throw a turnover here or there. I think Carr probably will throw a pick too, or fumble. And I think the Browns prevail this game, probably by 6 points or so. But it's definitely a corner of the TV game. It's a game that I've probably got to watch condensed version so I can come and talk about it coming up next week. Fan vote 50-50, split down the middle 50-50. Okay, let's talk about the Bengals. Now, this is a game that the Bengals 100% need. We talk about how the Bengals will have a chance here or there. No, if they lose this week, I will be the first one to say I think you're done. I don't think there's no playoff here, no hope. 8th, Chargers team coming confident. Early in their year, they were shaky. That offense was shaky. It's not like the offense is all over the place, killing everybody. They get their moments. J.K. Dobbins, solid running back. The receivers, McConkey, and then Johnston's. There's weeks that he decides to play. There's other weeks that he's not involved. O-line strong, O-line Herbert. We know Herbert and that defense, right? That's the thing. That defense is super good, super solid, really good defense against pretty much everybody they have played. Now the Bengals offense, that's their fort. So how do you think this offense attacked that defense in the Chargers?
Yeah, I think this is a tough matchup for them. I mean, I thought that the Chargers were going to be good as soon as they hired Jim Harbaugh as the coach. I know a lot of people thought the mass exodus of Keenan Allen and all of these guys were going to affect them. Harbaugh's a good coach. I mean, we saw him when he was in the NFL, and I heard a take this week from some 49ers fans that I tend to agree with. This team is like the 2011 San Francisco 49ers. They're a team that runs the ball. They play elite defense. They try not to turn the ball over, which is why they don't have Justin Herbert throwing the ball as much as he has in previous seasons. But that's what the Bengals are facing. And to me, there's a couple of disadvantages that they have. You start off with coaching. I mean, Jim Harbaugh, if I'm just putting Jim Harbaugh up against Zach Taylor, as a Bengals fan, I'm not confident in Zach Taylor being able to match Harbaugh, being able to do anything against that defense. Now, from my understanding, they still have Brandon Staley's principles in place for that defense, which was pretty solid. The thing that worries me in this one is this Bengals offense cannot afford to be stagnant, cannot afford to be inconsistent in this ball game, because what the Chargers like to do is run the ball, which is control the time of possession and play good defense to limit the Bengals and their opportunities. The Bengals come out here and they're inconsistent and they're punting the ball and they're not converting on their third downs, and if they're going for it and not matching, this is going to be a disaster for them, especially traveling to the West Coast and doing what they need to do there. Now, the one confident thing that I do have, I understand that, the numbers say that the Chargers have the best scoring defense in the NFL, and that is true. On the splits, it's third, but that's still top 5. The one thing that they haven't faced, though, is an offense like this. I don't think they've ever faced an offense as potent as the Bengals, especially with what this team has been able to do. You talk about dropping 30, 3 out of the last 4 games. This is a Bengals team and an offense that I think can give them some issues. However, this is a defense that can give them issues, which is going to be the one that comes out on top. The other factor that I think that a lot of people are taking in or might not be taking into account in this game is that the Bengals run defense has been really good as of late. We didn't start the season off saying that. They were one of the worst run defenses in the league. So with this being somewhat of a one-dimensional offense for the Chargers, the Bengals are able to stop that run, essentially what the Chargers like to do with Greg Roman and those guys over there. This could be something that evens it out with the offense potentially being inconsistent. This is one where I feel like Joe Burrow has to win this game for the Bengals. And that hasn't been a recipe for success lately. I think it can be a recipe for success against this team because I just don't see Zach Taylor called plays working against one of the top, scoring defenses, the top scoring defense in the NFL. I just don't see that happening. So there's going to have to be a lot of out of structure stuff, which Joe Burrow has been used to because that's literally been the Bengals offense this season. He's going to have to play out of structure. He's going to have to get big plays to Jamar Chase. He's going to have to be able to establish the run and utilize the clock as well on their side. And they're going to have to play mistake-free football. They're going to be able to not turn the ball over. They're going to have to play with low penalties and stuff like that if they want to win this game. Is the game winnable for them? Sure. I think that this is going to make or break your season right here. This Chargers game in LA, I mean, it is a little bit fair weather over there. I'm going to be real. So if there are anybody that's traveling over there, the Bengals could have that advantage from a crowd standpoint. But I think you're talking about an environment with the Chargers that could be one that could make some pressure be put on the Bengals early in this game. I'm not super confident that they're just coming in here and winning this game because from what I've seen with Zach Taylor in this offense, I cannot just simply say that they're going to go in there and not struggle or go in there and not have a chance to lose this game. I'm going to take the Bengals. I don't think that they're dropping 30 in this game, though. I think that this game is one that they're going to have to play and try to squeeze out here. So I'm going to take the Bengals 23, Chargers 20.
Yeah, I was checking, Ace, because you brought that point that they haven't faced any offense. The Cardinals been the best offense they faced, and they only gave 17. The highest scoring team against the Chargers was the Steelers with Justin Fields with 20 points. But, yeah, I mean,
I would say probably now the Steelers would probably score more.
Yeah, no, I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it. They play the Chiefs, but the Chiefs hasn't been like a high-scoring offense this year. So
and they usually play the Chiefs pretty good.
Yeah, like it is all divisional. Yeah. Jared, what do you think?
Yeah, the Chargers right now, they're in EPA per play defensively. Bengals are a top 10 team in EPA on offense. This will be the toughest defense that they've faced this season. Jesse Minter has that unit playing incredibly well. It's night and day difference from last year, where really the last couple of years, right, where Brandon Staley just wasn't getting the job done. Offensively for the Chargers, they're not going to do anything to blow you away. They're going to play the possession game. They're going to run the ball with Dobbins and Edwards and Justin Herbert. They'll dip into the well of, all right, Justin Herbert's awesome, so we'll utilize that, but we're not, it's not going to be our entire offensive game plan. They've gotten some splash performances from Ladd McConkey throughout the year. Quentin Johnson has played much better this season than he did a year ago. Even so, I just can't seem to quit the Bengals, and I do think that they win. It's one of those games where Ace said, it's a make or break game. I do agree. I mean, if you go 4-7, then yeah, you're probably, regardless of what happens, I don't think that they're going to win out and get to 10-7 to maybe try to get a playoff spot. So if you can get to 5-6, I have to pull up their schedule to see what it looks like in the next coming weeks, just because that would give kind of
They have Steelers coming up.
Let's see. Hold on. So after the Chargers game, yeah, they do have the Steelers. Okay, so it's the Steelers next, not the Brown Steelers. That's in a couple weeks. So apologies there, Q.
But they have a bye. They have a bye. You guys have Brown Steelers.
Oh, okay.
They have a bye.
Okay. Fair enough. All right. Yeah. Good job, Jared. This is on the fly podcasting, everybody. So you get a bye week, and then you go Steelers, Cowboys. Yeah. That's a winnable game. Titans. That's a game that you should win, and then close Steelers, with Browns, Broncos, Steelers. So I mean, none of these games are unwinnable. But if you can get to 5-6, go into your bye, get a little bit healthier, come off that against the Steelers team that's going to be coming off games against Baltimore and Cleveland, Like that's not going to be an easy thing for Pittsburgh to win in that first matchup. So you could get them at home as well, coming off 2 tough divisional games that might put you in the driver's seat coming off a bye. So yeah, this game, for all intents and purposes, somewhat decides where their season could go. If they lose, I think they're kind of done. If they win, then yeah, there's still some hope. Especially because, like I said, you get the Cowboys, the Titans in there. Those are games that you should win. So yeah, this one will really decide what the rest of their season looks like. I do think that they win and keep their hopes alive, but it's not going to be easy. I think it's going to be a 1-score game. But if you win this game, I think that lifts the morale. You can go into the bye feeling good about yourselves and then come off it ready to take on the division.
Cute.
Yeah, I think I'm going to pick the Chargers here in this game. They're just playing better football than Cincinnati right now. I know Cincinnati's been close in their last couple of games, but they haven't finished well in either of those games. The Chargers do both the things you need to do to finish football games. They run the football well, and they play excellent defense. And I think we're underrating just how good this defense has been for the Chargers. I mean, look at their points allowed numbers for the season. It's incredible what they've done. Ace brings up a good point. They haven't played a offense that's as potent as the Cincinnati Bengals, but it's also worth noting that the Cincinnati Bengals aren't always a potent offense, right? Like some weeks they are when they're playing against some division opponents, they seem to be, or the Kansas City Chiefs, but there are other weeks where they put up 17 points versus the New York Giants. So really, it's not a question to me of how is the Chargers defense going to show up. It's a question to me of like, hey, are the Cincinnati Bengals going to show up enough to be able to penetrate what is a really good defense with a strong defensive line? Tier Tart's playing really well there. Who's the other fat guy that got there? What's his name? He got a real memorable. Yeah, well, he got a real memorable name too. Number 95.
Morgan Fox.
No,
I don't think it's Morgan Fox. Oh, who the hell is it?
He got a real good fat guy.
We talk about him last week.
Is it? It's not Sebastian Joseph Day. He's a Titan.
No. He left last year.
Hold on. I'm gonna pull it up.
Jared's gonna pull it up, but they also have Khalil Mack, who's been playing some good football. Joey Bosa's been kind of like regular Joey Bosa, but he's their number 2 edge rusher.
Puna Ford.
Puna Ford. Oh yeah, Puna Ford. There you go. That guy name right there, man. Puna Ford. I want to draft him. Look, I have a theory. You should draft defensive tackles off the name vibes alone. It works out. You telling me a dude like Puna, that guy can't play one tech? Like, yes. Yeah. Justin Matabuke, my whole theory on him was he could play 3 tech, especially for the Ravens, because Matabuke, that just sounds like somebody who could hoop on the interior here. But they have a really good defensive line and some really good linebackers, right? Denzel Perriman. I refuse to learn this young man's name because he just terrorized us last week. Number 0.
Diane Henley.
Yeah. Just was all up in our business, destroying everything. This is a really, really good defensive unit. And like the same way, I don't think they've played an offense that can put up the points on a regular basis outside of Kansas City, right? Because Kansas City's always has that potential. And I think they held Kansas City to 17 points in the game that they played against them. The same way that's a test for them. I don't think the Bengals have played against a defense quite like the Chargers have or have to offer all this season. Justin Herbert's looking like he's finally getting a hang of what they're trying to do with him. And he's being productive, playing some of his best football this year. I think the Chargers are hot. I think the Bengals, they're in win now mode. They're in desperation mode, but it really felt like Joe Burrow was aiming for last week's game to be the one that you get. And usually when you don't get that one, right, the one that you've been pointing to and saying this is the one that we need to get, there's a little bit of a letdown the week after. We'll see. I don't love counting out Joe Burrow because he is such a spectacular player. Same thing with Jamar Chase. But I do think that the Chargers just flat out the better team this week. This game's in Cincinnati or this game's in LA?
LA.
LA. And it's a night game too.
Yeah.
Tarico and Collinsworth.
Yeah. So you got an East Coast team going West Coast as well. So yeah, I'm gonna go with the Chargers here. It'll be a close game. It'll definitely be a fun watch, but I think at the end of the game, the Cincinnati Bengals' biggest problem has been they haven't been able to close these games like they used to be, right? Like you could easily look at their schedule, look at their record, and say, hey, the Bengals should have 3 more wins to their name, and they should be in the conversation for the top of the AFC. But the difference with them this year has been that they can't close games, and the Chargers can. And I think the Chargers will close this game against them this week.
Not for nothing either. The Chargers, and when we talk about names, this might be the best like name defense in football. We got DiCaprio, Boodle, Atio, Ogbania, Puna Ford, Tuli Palatu. Who else do we got on here? Justin Aboigby.
Good luck to their
I know.
I would pay money to listen to Chris Collinsworth try to announce Atita Ogbania. That's going to be a great.
I will bet money that look, y'all might think I'm crazy for thinking this name theory has something to it, but you know who don't think I'm crazy? The anti-chicken man himself, Jim Harbaugh, does not think I'm crazy because y'all remember when he had a tight end named Jake Butt and he couldn't stop saying Jake Butt. Yes, Jim Harbaugh definitely be on that recruiting show. Like, yeah, I got to get this man named Kool-Aid.
My name's
Otis, I need him.
Just off vibes alone.
This is what I'm thinking of this game. The Bengals, I don't like Q's are something that I usually don't bet against. A team traveling either west to east, east to west.
And a team strong in the trenches.
Yes. Now, of all the teams that you want to play west is the Chargers because, as A said, that home count can be had. If the Bengals fans travel well, they can take over that stadium. Now, the reality is, I don't know how the Bengals fans feel like right now to travel, right? Because of the record. I don't know how the vibe is for that. But I'm struggling with this game. I think the Bengals are desperate. But the trenches belong, as Q was saying, to the Chargers. But if not this week, when? Like Q says something also that is correct. The Bengals pick when they want to be good offensively. They're not consistently good offensively. But this is a week that your back is on the wall. There's no other week. If you like, I feel like they play against the Ravens like that. I play against the Kansas City Chiefs like that, right? And maybe not much other teams, but now it's the pressure's there. Maybe that's what they needed, right? They just need all the pressure in the world. I don't know. The thing is here, the Bengals defensively, they're somewhat limited, right? But the Chargers offensively can be somewhat limited as well. So if the Bengals can stop the run, now if trenches wise, they're just putting gaps bigger than the Grand Canyon and J.K. Dobbins just plopping through the gap, there is done. There's nothing. I don't even care how good Joe Burrow's playing because they're going to win the time of possession. They're going to keep Joe Burrow on the sideline and they're going to win the game. But if they can contain the run and make Herbert, now Herbert's a good quarterback, but make him throw because the receivers are limited over there in for the Chargers. That has to be the strategy. And obviously on offense, Joe Burrow, sorry, dude, you have to be perfect again. You have to be perfect. There's no turnovers, no picks, no nothing. Again, they're not playing the Ravens offense where the Ravens offense, if you make a couple bad mistakes, they can come in as they did for scoring drives in a row. The Chargers don't have that in them. So if the Bengals can suffocate that run, limit the gashes, and, play. The other thing that they should not do is get desperate because the Chargers don't get desperate. The Chargers are, we'll punt, whatever, right? They're not going to force it here. They're not going to force it there. They believe in we're better in the trenches. We're going to stay solid on defense, and that's how they're going to play. I'm going to give it to the Bengals. I'm not happy with that pick either, but I'm going to give it to the Bengals. I think the Bengals are a good team. Yeah, it goes against everything that I believe. Trenches, West Coast, but desperate team. Again, if it's not this week.
Against the Harbaugh too.
Yeah.
Also, you talk about the name theory. I have my own theory. Like the Chargers, to me, like they feel like a solid, above average, good team. They don't feel like a 7-3 team to me. Does that make sense? I was like,
I think that. You know what? That moves me a little bit. I'm not even going to lie. Like, all I 7-3 would look weird next to them.
They feel like a 6-4 team. So
the Bengals do not feel like a 4-7 team.
That's
right.
Exactly.
That does move me. Doesn't move my pick, but it does make me more flexible on this whole thing. It's one of those things that if he didn't say that, I would have been looking at the scoreboard on Sunday, be like, "Ooh, do I really think they're gonna be 7-2?"
Right. Yeah, it's basically a pick 'em too. It's a 1.5 favorite for the Chargers right now, at least on FanDuel.
Which usually that tends to say that the Bengals are a little bit favored. You get -3 going home. We have a quick super chat here. The 188, the Chargers play a physical brand of football. Bengals do not. And the fan vote here, 62-38 Chargers.
I know this is super unrelated, but Ace, have you seen that G-Unit chain forgery that they call the Clippers' new logo?
Nah,
I haven't seen the new
Google
logo.
it right now. Google it right now on your phone and look at the Clippers' new logo. Tell me that shit don't look like one of them G-Unit chains back in the day.
I didn't even know that. Like, I don't follow basketball closely, so anything like this is
every
usually
time the
news
Clippers
to me.
rebrand. I'm like, how do you make it worse?
But what is that? What is the thing in the middle?
Oh wait, I have seen this. Yes. It's a ship.
boat.
It's a boat. Why a boat?
Because the Clippers are boats.
Yeah. It looks like it looks like the Clippers tried entering their Zodiac Killer era. It looks like they're saying this.
They always do some knockoff shit. Like remember them San Andreas jerseys they were out there rocking? Like I'm like, man, y'all need to just hire somebody. I don't know why they just keep having the worst redesigns in all of sports. Maybe it's just being the Clippers. They need a name change. Like, nobody cared the Clippers changed their name.
No, nobody.
They wouldn't.
Now, you know, interesting story in here. People would love if the Wizards changed their name.
Oh, back to the Capitals?
No,
the
Bullets. But the problem is political correctness. They don't want to do it.
Well,
but
DC was like the murder capital of the world when they changed it. I don't know if it still is, but
they're high.
Hey,
I'm sure it's pretty high.
Ray Lewis hadn't showed up yet, you know, the gun violence in the surrounding DMV area.
You know, the Bullets come from Baltimore. It was the Baltimore Bullets. They moved to Washington, the Washington Bullets, and then anyway.
I just I know we're getting a little bit off the rails. I just watched Dave Chappelle's latest special last night, just as background noise. Yeah, it's very good. And he talks about like Baltimore being just like bad. He's like, Baltimore's bad when Tupac and his mother moved to Oakland for a better life. That made me laugh pretty hard.
Is amazing. Dave Chappelle is next level. Okay, let's talk about the week of the match of the week. Did I say the fan vote?
Yes, you did.
Yeah, Bengals 60. I'm sorry, Chargers 62%. Steelers, Ravens for the North. I mean, whoever wins is winning the North. I'm not saying that they're gonna be the winners of the North. To be honest, if the Ravens beat the Steelers, I mean, they had the same type of losses. If the Ravens lose, now they had 2 more losses than the Steelers. So, in theory, the Ravens need this game a little bit more. I'm gonna start with you, Ace, because I know you have a little bit of time crunch here.
Yep.
What do you think is going to happen in this game?
Look, man, this rivalry is back. I thought that it was going to be an Ohio thing. That didn't happen, Q. We didn't hold up our end of the bargain. This is the marquee matchup this season in the North. This is a tough one to pick, man. I'm actually looking at both of these teams. Both of these teams are good, but this is a different kind of matchup. Now, going off of history, we know that would say that this is going to be a low-scoring, close game, probably going down to the last minute, right? I'm not so sure Baltimore is holding up their end of the defense this year just because of the struggles with the new coordinator. Like, I don't trust them to hold up their end of the bargain. And I think the way that Baltimore has to win this is for them to be able to score some points against the Steelers defense. That's what it's going to come down to. Is Pittsburgh's defense going to win this game, or is Baltimore's offense going to win this game? And from what I saw, even though the Steelers gave up a lot of points last week to the Commanders, this is a team that they're more familiar with. They know what to expect from Lamar. They know what to expect from their offense. I'm not so sure Baltimore knows what they expect from Pittsburgh's offense, right? This is a Pittsburgh offense that in years past hasn't been like this super explosive kind of high scoring offense that we've seen them kind of become in just a matter of weeks. With that being said, where's this game? This game is in Pittsburgh.
In Pittsburgh.
In Pittsburgh, yep.
Right down the road from me.
I'm taking the Steelers in this one, bro. I think the Steelers, their defense, I think what they're able to do on offense, I think the combination of their team, I just trust more. Like, I feel like they have two complementary sides of the football. Right now, the Ravens are reeling on defense. I cannot trust that defense. George Pickens, I just saw what Jamar Chase just did to that defense. George Pickens, he's not Jamar Chase, but he's a pretty damn good wide receiver. And your plan
Hamilton not
be
playing,
to have,
by the way. Hamilton's not playing.
Yep, Hamilton being out is huge because
it's not official, but he hasn't been practicing.
I'm gonna be honest with you, Sonny. That's what opened the floodgates, I think, in the Bengals game for Jamar Chase. As soon as Hamilton was gone, that opened things up. He's a key piece of that defense. They really need him, especially in the secondary. Your game plan can't be to put Brandon Stevens on George Pickens in this game one-on-one. You got to have help over the top. You got to do something there because Russell Wilson, we've seen it these last couple of weeks. He's going to take those moon balls. And they kind of struggled with that last week. I still think that it's going to be a close game. Like Lamar Jackson, if the Ravens win this game, it'll be because of Lamar Jackson. That, to me, that's the only way that they're going to do it. I don't see the offense really or the defense really shutting down the Steelers. Until they show me, I can't believe it. I'm going to go with the Steelers in this one. I think that they get the win here. However, I think the series is still going to be split, but I think that the Steelers get this one at home. And I think that they take that commanding lead, which is just a 2-game lead, over the Ravens in this one.
Cute.
Yeah. What's the Steelers record?
7-2. I'm thinking the same thing right now. It's just an 8.
Yeah. What's the Ravens record?
7-3.
Yeah. I'm going with the Ravens here, man. Like the Steelers don't feel like an 8.
The record theory.
It's pure look, once we get down to these margins, it really comes down to things that's small too. And look, I think Ace is right. It is going to come down to Lamar Jackson to win this game. I just think that's a far better bet than I think people make it out to be, right? Lamar Jackson has been playing incredible football the last few weeks. He looks like he's going to get his third MVP because everybody they keep trying to throw out there keeps throwing a bunch of interceptions every week that we start paying attention to him. Shout out to Jared Goff, by the way. 5 of them?
5 picks.
Remember that one year I was dead wrong about Matt Stafford? I was like, he's going to be back to being Matt Stafford. And then he threw 5 interceptions. I'm like, right. And then ignored the fact that he won the Super Bowl that same year.
Yeah. I was going to say that was the same year.
Like, that is the Jared Goff regression to the mean game, but he will still probably get to the conference championship, right? But yeah, I think that the Ravens are going to win this game. I understand the concerns about the Ravens defense because their defense, it does stink, right? Like they're not the greatest defense in the world. But I will say, as bad as those corners are, there's a reason they keep dropping interceptions. It's because they are in position, if you hang a football, to get in the spot to make those interceptions. And I wonder, with how Russ likes to hang these footballs and how the Ravens secondary likes to play these footballs, is this going to be another week where they drop a bunch of interceptions and we don't really talk about it being like a pass deflection, or is it going to be a week where they finally get it? Because Russ does throw a very catchable football. So I think George is probably going to get 115, 120, but he's not Jamar Chase. He's not going to get 260, right? Like that. And even the 260 that Jamar Chase got was not enough to beat Baltimore last week. As much as we're talking about how bad that Baltimore defense is, they have obviously showed that they can overcome their defense with their offense. And Pittsburgh's offense is probably not going to put up the same potent effort as Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow on a heater. Right, like I like Russ now this season. Well, I don't like Russ. I just think Russ is playing well this season. I agree with y'all. And George Pickens is George Pickens, but that's not Joe Burrow. That's not Jamar Chase. So I think Baltimore will win this game. The only thing that has me nervous about it is that it's in that fucking stadium in Pittsburgh.
It's not Heinz. What is it now? I keep forgetting.
I don't care what it's called. It's Heinz.
It's
Okay.
That's all I know.
I don't care
We
who
still
paid
call
for
it
it. They didn't pay me to change the name. It's Heinz Field. Okay.
Heinz Field.
They paid the owner to change that name. He got to call it that. I ain't got to call it shit but Heinz Field. I'll call it Three Rivers if I want to. But it's that stadium. It's the fact that everything seems to have gone Pittsburgh's way.
Mm-hmm.
And every time I'm like, no, Pittsburgh is not getting to this record this year. They've gotten to that record. So I'm going to pick the Ravens, but I am prepared to be wrong on this one. Okay. My gut is my brain is telling me the Ravens, but my gut is like, nah, dog. I think the Steelers might win this one. So tentatively picking the Ravens here. Did somebody play a donk sound effect?
No,
I think I just hit my mic.
Jared,
Like
are you going to this game, Jared?
No, I don't go to games, man. I got too much
okay.
other stuff to do on football Sunday where I would much rather just watch everything from the friendly confines of my couch. Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna chill and do my other work for sporting news. Go read all that, everybody. Yeah, my thoughts are this. By the way, last 5 games, there have been no team has scored 20 points in the last 5. There's been 2 17-10 games, 2 16-13 games, and 1 16-14 game. That's kind of been the story of this rivalry over the past 2 or so years. So it's been a lot of low-scoring games. I think that is going to change a little bit here just because, we talked about the Ravens' defense not being great. At least their pass defense hasn't been great. The rush defense has still been pretty solid. And Pittsburgh defensively, this is a team last year that didn't have a good secondary and was still able to take care of business, albeit in the game at home last year, the Ravens had a lot of drops. So I don't foresee that being an issue. I will say this, though. I yearning for Lamar Jackson to throw it to Deontay Johnson and his first target be a drop. That stadium is going to erupt if Deontay Johnson drops a pass.
If that happens, the next move from Harbaugh should be go to the locker room. I don't even know.
Tomlin was taking shots, man.
Oh, bro. Yeah, he was like, he doesn't really show up on their video. They got much more other players to worry about. Subliminals.
I already saw Deontay do like 4 things in the last 2 weeks that pissed off Lamar Jackson. I'm like, that was the other part of that trade.
He's already tweeting too. He's like, there's 2 sides to every story. Like, bro, you've been there 2 weeks. How are you already pissed?
Already in the doghouse. Lamar like, nah, dog, fuck that. Nah. I advocated for Antonio Brown in like 2022 to join the team, but this is much for me.
Yeah, it's incredible. Just the how quick Deontay Johnson gets in doghouses. So
you must smell bad. Like that's the only reason I can imagine people just like not like you. Like you got to smell terrible.
Like, just musty.
Yeah, he's like, hey man, he doing all this shit and he stank like
the story going into this game is the Lamar's lack of success against Pittsburgh. He's 1-3 against the Steelers as a starter. Playing at a really high level this year. Derrick Henry playing at a really high level as well. Steelers run defense has been pretty solid, but they have been prone to giving up big plays, especially when it comes to checkdowns to running backs, screen passes to running backs. So I'm worried about that a little bit. I don't expect them to fully contain Derrick Henry. I expect Derrick Henry to have a respectable day. But if they can limit Zay Flowers, I think that you're in the driver's seat defensively there. I don't expect them to play a ton of man coverage. They don't have the guys that can really do that right now outside of Joey Porter. But I would expect them to say, all right, Joey, you got Zay for the day. Don't commit 3 penalties like you did last week against Terry McLaurin and the Commanders, because that was brutal. But, if they can lock down Zay Flowers and make somebody else beat them, I like their chances. Offensively, we saw what Russ did against the Commanders, and again, it wasn't pretty, but it was a lot of chucking it. You went 14 of 28, but it felt like 15 of those 28 passes were 15 or more yards downfield, and they did it a lot. So I expect some deep balls to George Pickens, some deep balls to Mike Williams. Hopefully some success comes from that. Obviously, as a Steelers fan, I'm going to pick them. I'm not going to be surprised, though, at the result either way. The only thing I would be surprised at if they get destroyed. I don't think that's going to happen if they do lose. These games tend to always be close. So I'll take the Steelers. I'll take them to win, a 1-score game, as these games tend to be. Yeah, I will point this out too. The Steelers, to me, they don't feel like an 8-2 team. But I said that they didn't feel like a 7-2 team going into last week and still picked them to win. So I'll keep that train going and say that they will win. And if they do, I mean, that's huge because then you got a 2-game lead in the AFC North. You got a win over the Ravens that are basically the only threat to win the division. So that's pretty big. And if they can do that, put themselves in the driver's seat and really establish themselves as like a real, I think they've already established themselves as like a real threat in the AFC. This is a different team than it has been in the last couple of years, especially offensively. But if you can get to 8-2 and beat Baltimore in the process, you're really kind of throwing it off the table and say we're the motherfucking Pittsburgh Steelers and we're here to make some noise. So hopefully they can do that.
So for me, the teams Ace, take it, man. ABC. For me, the Steelers do feel like a 8-2 team, but it's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. But I underestimated this team earlier in the year. I think they are a team that is great. I actually think a team that it can contend for a Super Bowl. The more that I watch, the more that I think the Steelers are a well-sounded, rounded team. After giving all the flowers now, let me say this. There's a lot to be gained against their... Well, there's a lot to be gained.
That being said,
No, but so there's a lot of gain here for the Steelers over the top, right? And Russell has been pushing passes over the top, and that's where the Ravens have been struggling, right? No Kyle Hamilton. Who do you think is going to be the safety in this game?
Oh God! Don't let it be Eddie Jackson.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is it gonna be Eddie?
Jackson.
Oh! I might want to switch my pick. I ain't think about that. Eddie Jackson trying to track a deep ball. It's gonna look like Raheem Moore all over again. It's gonna be fucking awful.
What I'm hoping is the Ravens play more man in this game and put safeties over the top. Yeah, because the problem is a lot of there was the one play in Joku, right? But if you put the corners out, because now your corners are fairly healthy, you put them in man and say to the safety, you're gonna be over the top in case somebody gets beaten, right? Especially with Pickens out there. That's I think should be the defensive plan, but that's probably not gonna happen. What I said about Joe Burrow is probably gonna be true about Lamar. Lamar has to be kind of perfect in this game. The turnovers, you cannot have turnovers on the wrong side of the field. Because if you do and give Steelers a short field, they're going to capitalize. I feel like this defense, the Steelers, look, I feel like since Russell Wilson has started, the worst game that he had was last week. In the case of completing percentage, he had 3 touchdowns, I think, but completing percentage, right? He still pushed the ball down the field, but he didn't look as comfortable. Why was it? In my opinion, it was the first game since Russ started. Then Najee didn't look good, right? Najee was meh. And then the second thing is he had a lot of pressure. And that is the key for this defense. This defense needs to come in and pressure Russell Wilson. Pressure. Obviously, sack, because we're the kings of pressure right now, but we cannot necessarily get the sack. Pressure, get to Russ, and that's how you're going to beat this team.
Because the Ravens are number 5 in total sacks this season.
I know, but
there's not enough there.
No, because if you go back and see how many we have left there, it's insane. It's insane. So, pressure, get to the quarterback and sack him. That's going to break the flow of a Steelers offense. It has to look good in the past 3 weeks, but I don't think it's perfect. Like, I don't think they're Cincinnati good, right? So if you pressure and put them on a 3rd and long, then that's when you can have them. Do I think that's going to happen on a consistent basis? Not necessarily. But that is, on our defensive side, that has to be the pressure, man, too high. That's what that. And then obviously suffocate the run. You cannot allow Najee Harris to come here and run all over you. Obviously, that's not good for my Najee hate stance, but also it's not good. Like if they can run Najee, now they can have play action. Definitely they can kick your ass over the top. So you need to limit Najee's runs. In my opinion, they should be playing man defense and too high. And you should be saying to Marlo, you're gonna take Pickens. And yeah, Wiggins takes whoever, Steven takes whoever. I don't care. But Marlo, you're going to take Pickens. You might take a couple of series here and there, but for the most part, you're going to take Pickens because if you can frustrate Pickens, you can get him out of the game mentally, right? So that is important. That's how this defense has to play. Now, on offense, I'm very interested in a couple of key matchups here. Our right tackle, which I love a lot, Rosengarten playing against TJ Watt, that's going to be a serious matchup. I don't expect my guy Rosengarten to beat TJ Watt all the time. But the question here is, what do the Steelers do when they beat their linemen, right? Because they will beat the linemen. I have no doubt that Rosengarten will get beat a couple times. I have no doubt that Fahalele will get beat a couple times. What do? Do they bring down Lamar? Because if they don't bring down Lamar, that's where the offense of the Ravens is the most dangerous. Lamar gets out of the pocket. Shit happens in the backfield or on the secondary. People are going crazy. Lamar finds somebody. That's the big game, right? So what do the Steelers do when they beat the O-line? Again, I don't think it's a question if they beat them. I think they're going to beat the O-lines. What are they going to do? It's going to be interesting. T.A. Watt always plays really good against us. Hell of a player, T.A. Watt. So that is the key in the for the Ravens offense. What do you do? Are you going to protect Lamar Jackson? What do you do here? Also protect the ball, not necessarily in the interceptions. I can see this being a game that Lamar could have fumbles, right? Because that pass rush is coming and he's trying to do something. He's moving the ball there, trying to look for somebody, and I can see a strip sack. So protecting the ball for Lamar has to be key. I don't want it to be coming down to a field goal because I have no faith anymore on Justin Tucker. Justin Tucker is cooked in my book. Justin Tucker is done, and Boswell is not cooked. So the Ravens has to be leading by 7. This is not a game you want to put field goals. Also, Pittsburgh's not the easiest place to kick. Also, right, especially on the open side. So it's gonna be an intriguing matchup. I think the Ravens had one thing, if they want to take out Zay Flowers, which is what the Bengals did against the Ravens, Lamar has other weapons that he can throw to. And by the way, if they take Zay Flowers, it will be poetic if Deontay Johnson is the one that kills them, right? To be honest, I don't care. Deontay Johnson can be 0 reception for 0 yards. That I won't lose sleep. Mark Andrews, how bad he started the season, he's second in the league in touchdown pass catches for a tight end. You saw Bateman is also getting a lot of yardage, and they had Nelly gets a couple here. Isaiah Likely started to practice, so he's a game time decision. So obviously that will work good. And I still haven't talked about my guy, Henry. What are the Steelers going to do, right? Another key here is PQ, right? PQ tends to go like a bullet through the quarterback or to the running back, right? Which I love. This is one of the things I love. But the question is, can an over pursue happen at that moment? Can an over pursue happen? Not necessarily against Henry, because PQ against Henry could be a good matchup for the Steelers because PQ will get to the backfield. But if PQ is set to tackle Lamar and he misses Lamar Jackson, again, that's when the problems can start. I think it's going to be a fun matchup for anybody that's not a Steelers-Ravens fan. I said similar that I said for the Bengals and Ravens game. I think the Ravens win. I'm going to pick them by a touchdown because I don't want a field goal. I don't want a field goal game. This will be horrible for me. I don't want to see Tucker kicking a field goal at any point. It has to be touchdown.
Especially since y'all don't got the better kicker anymore.
I already said it. I think Justin Tucker's cooked. I think this year they should go and look for a different kicker. This is my stand. The game is +3 the Steelers, which I'm surprised because usually it should be a -3 Steelers because they're at home. Or under 48.
I'll happily bet them to cover
that one +3.
Or even if you go alt spread, go -4.5. That feels like a pretty safe cover.
I hate. Yeah. I like fours. Over under 48.
Oh, sorry, +4.5, not minus.
I think the Ravens. I'm thinking this game goes 28-21. Ravens. A good matchup. I think Lamar drives down at the end of the game for a touchdown. That's what I'm thinking. It's going to be a good matchup regardless for everybody that's not a Ravens and Steelers fan. I can't believe this is not the Sunday night, which, by the way, I really don't care, but I'm surprised that they didn't make it. They didn't flex it to be the Sunday night, although the Sunday night matchup with the Bengals and the Chargers is not a bad matchup to have. Yeah, that's what I'm going. So let me see the fan vote. What do you think is a fan vote?
That'll be something crazy in the Ravens' favor. It usually is.
Oh yeah, this week it's gonna be 70-30.
Yeah, it's gonna be somewhere around there.
Yeah, because they don't win against non-AFC teams.
Okay.
Right.
Here you go.
It'd be like 90-10.
Ravens 52%.
What?
Okay. Closer than I
52,
thought.
Third team
48.
playing? Is there a third team? Like, is somebody disrupted the boat?
Is somebody,
52.
is somebody cashing in money in the bank right now that we didn't know about?
Bengals fans probably are hating on the Ravens. By the way, Bengals fans, that you might be hating on the Ravens. If somehow, not somehow, if the Ravens beat the Steelers and you guys take care of the Chargers, right? You're not that far from the Steelers if you clean house, because that will be you beating them twice. Just saying.
There's a third party in there siphoning votes from
So-
if it's at 40, there's no way it's 48.
52-48. 52-48. No, Ravens.
You know what,
52-48
baby?
Ravens.
Hey, look, this is progress here. We have made significant gains in the Steelers fans that watch this show, apparently, because the Steelers don't ever stand a chance in that damn poll. Like,
Yeah,
No,
anyway, what's happening?
shout out to Jerry.
I'm excited though. I
man.
mean, I'm trying my best. No, this is, I would say, in terms of like importance, like this is the most important that a Steelers Ravens game has felt in like a long time. So it's cool to see both teams kind of, back in this familiar place. Hasn't been like that in a while. Like even last year, whenever like, it was the last game of the year, and if the Steelers won, they got in. Like it was Mason Rudolph against Tyler Huntley. Like it doesn't really. No one cares about that. Let's be completely real. No, this feels like a big time game, and it's the first time that it's felt this big time in a while.
The Pro Bowl committee cared.
Oh, also, there's two teams that Lamar Jackson does not have a winning record against.
Pittsburgh,
the
Pittsburgh
Chiefs
and Kansas City.
Pittsburgh. Yep.
Mm.
So obviously, against the Steelers is 1-3.
That does not bode well for the Lamar is not clutch argument, man. Like, are you serious? Those are the two
here's the
teams.
thing. I hope it's close.
That's
I hope the Ravens have the ball last, and I hope he throws it right into the hands of Minka Fitzpatrick. That'll just thinking about it. I'm almost there. Just thinking about it, I'm almost there.
You're gonna get one
Oh,
of this.
my
You're gonna get
goodness.
one of this.
I cannot wait. I hope, because everybody, there's a lot of talk on Steelers Twitter right now about, oh man, Minka Fitzpatrick, he's not actually that good, which couldn't be
It's
further
cooked.
from the truth. He's truly not. He's had a really solid season and taking away like a portion of the field, but people who look at box scores and say, well, he doesn't have any receptions, that must mean he sucks. I would love nothing more than to see a Minka.
You know what, Pittsburgh
You should
fans,
cut
y'all
him.
deserve to have that conversation, because the amount of y'all that look at Myles Garrett's box score and go like, oh, he's not playing well. Like, nah, y'all deserve for that to happen. Like, I'm glad that y'all do it to yourselves too.
Oh, God almighty. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to the game. I hope that it ends in favorable fashion for me. I think it would be great. But regardless, I think it'll be a fun one. Hopefully the Steelers come out on top.
Okay, y'all, that will be it. We'll be back here
I'm hoping for a
Tuesday
draw.
previewing this
For a
matchups, the
tie.
3 matchups. Should be good games throughout. So go watch the games, and we will see y'all next time. Peace out.